When most people hear SNK, they're probably thinking about King of Fighters, but most people were pretty surprised to hear that SNK was bringing back their 1v1 fighting game, Fatal Fury. Now, I got to try the beta this past weekend, and in this video, I'm going to be giving an overview of the game, and a review with some opinions on the game. Now, I did try King of Fighters 13 in the past, but I would say this is my first real dive into an SNK game pretty much ever. And at a glance, the system mechanics of the game would seem pretty overwhelming if you're new to SNK Fighters. Fatal Fury is a 5-button game. You have A, or light punch, B, or light kick, C, or heavy punch, D, or heavy kick, and E, or rev. The attack buttons are straightforward enough, but the rev button is tied to a bunch of mechanics I'll touch on while we're going through this video. The game is reasonably mobile as well. There's no air dashes, and there's less hops in KOF. You could jump, hop, and dash jump, which is essentially a super jump. You can also dash and backdash. Some characters have runs, and others have like a step dash. A nice little thing is that the rev button is tied to movement as well, so while you're holding the rev button, you could backdash and run. I did find this a little counterintuitive in that you have to press back and rev at the same time in order to backdash and not hold and back, even though it makes sense from like a design perspective why you would not let people hold rev and then tap back to backdash, while holding rev and tapping forward will make you run. Holding rev and jumping will make you hop automatically. Or you can go the traditional route of lightly tapping up instead of just pressing up. Offense and combos can be a little tricky. You generally don't get high damage from lights, and it felt like there were some simple links that turned out to actually just be changed, like crouching light kick into crouching light punch. So probably the trickiest things for a new player would be feinting and breaking. These mechanics both use the rev button. Every character has special moves assigned to feints and breaks. A feint straight up cancels the move. For example, with Rock we have the fireball. He has the ability to feint it by doing forward plus rev plus heavy punch. The feints are different for every character, so definitely look into that on your own character. For breaks though, you do execute part of the move. So for example, we have Rock's Rising Tackle, which is DP, and he has the ability to break this by pressing the rev button. This makes it so he doesn't complete the entire move. You can use the feint to set up tricky or advantageous offensive situations, or you can use the break to do combos, making an unsafe special move save, and potentially do some tricky offense. The odd thing to me is that the break is pretty intuitive. The idea of doing a special move and cancelling it at the beginning. But you do feinting by doing rev plus a button, which I find kind of odd. Now, once you get used to this though, essentially combos are either light into special move, or bigger buttons into feint, into special move, into break, into EX moves, into whatever. You get 2 bars for supers, a level 1 super that's done with light buttons, a level 2 super that's done with heavy buttons, and the hidden gear, which is a conditional super that does massive damage. Before we continue talking about the mechanics of the game though, I do need to touch on rev a lot more. So the button does quite a few things, but it's also tied to a unique resource, which is the rev meter, and this meter is absolutely everything in this game. It is closely tied with offense, defense, and neutral. So you start with 0% rev, which means you have full resource at the start of the game. For the combos I mentioned before, when you're doing EX move into EX move, this is using your rev bar for the resource. And as far as combos, it's pretty simple to manage. An easy rule is have a high damage cash out confirm that costs a lot of resource, and have a general use confirm that doesn't use a lot of EX moves but refunds you some by using normal moves at the end of your combo. Generally, characters' combo structures make it so you can do whatever into a couple of EX moves, into a couple of normal special moves, and you're essentially refunding yourself resource, so you can keep up your advantage. This turns a straightforward combo system into a pretty nuanced combo system where you can make decisions based on the situation that you want to put yourself in. And I think front loading it into the game makes for a nice touch. Your supers give you back a little resource too, but your hidden gear, the strongest variant of your super, resets your bar to 0 and also does massive damage. This is incredibly powerful, but you can't do this whenever you want. You specifically have to be in SPG. So SPG is what the game asks you about when you're loading into a match. You can choose to put in the first third, middle third, or last third of your health bar. This, in my opinion, is a unique take on, let's say, like comeback mechanics that were pretty popular in like SF4 era fighting games. And it does 3 very important things. So for starters, it gives you access to Rev Blow. This is a very annoying mechanic that can be used as a safe armor poke, anti-air, RPS tool, and more. It does cost resource, but not a lot. Also, when you're in SPG, it reduces the cost of your EX moves. And finally, it gives you access to the hidden gear. If I'm being real about SPG, I would like Rev Blow to be slightly nerfed. Not really the properties on it, just more that I think it just costs more resource because it's pretty spammy right now. And if you don't have good counterplay to it, it's extremely annoying to deal with. That being said though, there is a penalty for spending too much resource. This is called overheat status. So you not only can get guard crush very easily, which is not something you normally have to worry about, but when you're in overheat, you also can't use Rev blocking. It takes a long time to recover from as well, and you can't use any EX moves. So you have to kind of go in to get your resource back. It just takes a long time of running in at your opponent and doing stuff for it to come back. So it's really dangerous. So placement is key here, especially since you will definitely get the meter for your hidden gear while you play. Then we have to talk about defense. And defense is quite strong in this game. Now, the main thing is that defensive mechanics are not like easily accessible, but they can really change the situation. So first, since I was talking about Rev, we can look at Rev blocking. This is like barrier block or faultless defense in Arxis games, but by using Rev guard, you can create more pushback than normal, and it costs your Rev gauge. It's subtle, but the opponent is pushed away from you. But there's a secret advantage to Rev Guard in that you can't be crossed up when you're using Rev Guard, so essentially there's no left-right in this game, unless you're in overheat status that we mentioned before. Now, the first advanced mechanic would be Just Defense. Now, this is like instant blocking in Arxis games, and the timing felt pretty similar to older Arxis games that I've played. You get a small HP recovery, resource recovery, and the attempt to reverse the situation with a guard cancel, a special move out of block stun. You can also do Just Defense in the air, which is important because you can't block attacks in the air in this game at all. So Just Defend makes it so you can get HP back and protect yourself in this situation. Now, Hybrid Defense is like Just Defense. The main difference is rather than going from neutral to blocking, which is Just Defense, it's while you're blocking something, if someone is doing another attack to follow up, you can Hyper Defense. The rewards for doing so are the same. Now, guard canceling is doing a special attack out of block stun. It's big because you can use EX moves to combo into other EX moves, so a successful guard cancel is a pretty big deal reward-wise. On top of that, if you can perform a super in this situation, the super is faster than normal, which I think is a really big deal. So the game is fast, but not super fast, with some explosive moments. I would say from playing that I'm pretty sure defense long-term is going to be a major part of this game. Mainly in that since there's no like strong mix-up by my definition, left-right can be mitigated by Rev block and basically nobody has high-low. Essentially the game is a fast-ish neutral game focused on strike throw, which is fine. But in these games, characters flip out when you hit them in the air, so even though no one can block in the air unless they do a Just Defense, you don't get like a big reward most of the time for anti-airing people, which means you have to get a pretty decisive hit on offense to actually be able to cash out your reward with Rev. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but if you're looking for like a method of winning, like something for your character to aim for, most characters basically don't have that. So if you're like a game plan building style player or like an offense or knockdown style player, this game is going to be very rough for you to play. And defense, I think, is going to be even stronger as people conceptualize ideas and methods around the advanced defensive mechanics. I'm assuming you could do these in the old game too, but one example I was thinking of was why not buffer a reversal plus IB on every knockdown and then just confirm that you got to the successful Just Defense and then just press the button to do your guard cancel. So you could choose to block and have the buffered guard cancel automatically, and if the opponent does nothing, you do nothing. This is pretty similar to the concept of how people use like instant block and instant block faultless defense and strive of you might as well just input the thing. If the thing connects, it comes out, you react and do what you're going to do, and if not, you weren't going to get it anyway, and the situation is just normal and you adjust accordingly. And on top of that, you get combos, right, between like being able to do EX moves and the EX moves, so it's pretty rewarding to try to go for this early. Or if you're getting annoyed at zoners, so I got really annoyed at Kane, who's a zoning character with a DP, but I forgot the part that I being fireballs gives you HP back on top of giving you resource back. So you could try to force your way in a couple times. Okay, if you're wrong, all right, that sucks. He goes back to zoning with fireballs. You chill and IB stuff and get your HP back. You try again. Character-wise, even though I didn't get to play all the characters, there's no training mode in the beta. It did feel like from playing against every character that every character was good. So the main differentiating factor that I felt from character power was how characters played around resource. Because I played Bijane in the demo, and I was pretty sure that if this beta released as is in a competitive format, I would not play her, because she does have that aspect of she has to play this continuous strike throw neutral game, where I think it's going to be really important to say, like, have a command grab like Vox or Hotaru, or really dictate the pace of neutral the way Kane does, or have something like Preacha. She has like high-low where she refunds herself resources. That seems very useful to me. Essentially, these characters have like extra threat based around the system, which would be like Vox, Hotaru, and Preacha, or have so much control that it's chill to play the system-based game, which is Kane. Since Kane has a projectile that he could use for strike throw, I think that's a very strong way of playing the system, essentially. Plus, just being a zoner for DP just sounds annoying and good. So who is this game for? Well, if you like interaction in your fighting games, this game is definitely for you, since that is the name of the game. You engage your opponent from a resource perspective, and in general, you have to hit your opponent. You don't get like a canned 50-50 or like canned guesses very often. You have to elicit reactions from your opponent. If you like defense, this game's also for you. It's very safe to pick nothing and system mechanics, and you'll be rewarded more and more as you get better at using just defense, hyper defense, and guard cancel. On top of that, you feel really good in neutral using things like just defense to protect yourself from getting hit air versus air into hits. Now, if you don't like defense being strong, or if you don't like inconsistency in your games, this game's probably not for you. I personally had fun in the game, but I would be lying if I didn't get frustrated a couple times as I started advancing through the ranks, especially around the A rank, of people taking hits on purpose that you couldn't combo off of and then getting scrambles. That was pretty annoying to me. But I'm pretty sure my short-term solution, as I had mentioned before, would be to pick a character that helps with that. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the entire roster. I think with a little tweaking, the game would be a interesting change of pace out of the mainline fighting games right now, especially because a lot of people say that this current generation of fighting games is very aggressive. So having a game that the big emphasis is neutral and defense is a change of pace that people ask for. And I'm especially hoping that people who say there is no defense and it's just brainless rushed out in fighting games right now to try this game or play Uni. Because if you don't play one of those two games or an older fighting game that you say has these things, then you are really talking out of your ass. If you really feel this way, this is one of the games that you should literally play. And if not, you are just complaining to complain. So let me know what you guys think. If you're interested in supporting the channel, I do have a Patreon at patreon.com/LordKnight, and I stream most days on weekdays at twitch.tv/LordKnight. That's where we stream, practice, do events, and things for LK Chronicles, which is my second channel. Stream topics and reaction topics, so go check that out if you feel like and subscribe also if you feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.